So this demo will cover two topics, creating the illusion of value on a lino cut plate and the direct cut, direct draw methods. I'll start with creating value. With relief prints, there are only areas that print and areas that don't print. So if you are carving a one-layer lino cut, it's not possible to print gradations. But you can trick the eye using line and shape. Here is an example of a plate that uses different types of marks to create value. By using texture and patterning, you can create the illusion of different values. Some marks are carefully planned and precise. Others were more gestural. Some were cut directly on the plate without planning ahead of time, and others, like the square on the top left, I just scribbled marks with a pencil and then cut around those marks. It's all trickery, like using a halftone screen. There are endless ways to do this, but one of the best ways to get ideas is to look at prints made by other people. Okay, so moving on to the direct cut method. Most of this plate was actually made without any advanced drawing whatsoever. I stained the surface by buffing on a light India ink wash with a paper towel. This made the carved marks stand out in sharper contrast. Then I just cut what I saw fit without much planning. This is a nice way to work when you have large areas that need texture, but you don't want to draw every little tick mark out in advance. You can also buff an ink wash on while cutting. This helps to give you an idea of how the image is coming along. If you plan to print with a light-colored ink, though, remember to remove the wash using rubbing alcohol. It's possible for some ink wash to transfer and discolor your ink in the print. Now I will talk about the direct draw method. For those who want to draw directly on the linoleum, no image transfer required. This is absolutely possible, and you can use all sorts of materials to make marks. Pencil, ink, charcoal, etc. But you'll notice that some materials, like pencil, rub off very easily and smear while carving. This drawing was made using pencil. You can lock your drawing in place using an acrylic wash. In order to do this, you must sand your lino block first. Otherwise, the water-based acrylic wash will bead up on the surface and you won't get even coverage. It doesn't seem to matter what type of acrylic you use, but it should be thinned enough that you can see through it. I'm using white for this drawing. Choose a color that won't compete with the inks you plan to use, just in case some lifts off. The wash appears more opaque while wet, and then dries to be more see-through. Here you can see the plate after it has dried, which doesn't take very long at all. The acrylic is a tiny bit more transparent than it was while it was wet. Here is the cut plate, and you can see that none of the graphite smeared during the carving. Here is the plate, all inked and ready to print. Remember that with relief, the image on your plate will always be reversed. And here's the plate next to the resulting print. Even though it is technically black and white, the hatching and patterning trick the eye into interpreting some areas as gray. After printing off the excess ink, I went ahead and scrubbed the surface with a paper towel that had a tiny bit of baby oil on it. Remember never to pour oil directly on the plate. You can still see most of the pencil marks. I then scrubbed the surface using a paper towel that had a little dish soap on it, and the acrylic is still intact. This isn't terribly important if you're making a one-layer lino cut, but is tremendously helpful if you plan to make a reductive print and need your drawing to remain on the surface in between printings.